Okay, hi everyone. Fingers crossed my internet's going to hold out, because we wasn't sure if it was my internet or Veronica's, but I'm just getting a pack of cards out just to clear my mind. Right, let's have a look and see, where do I get the chats from? I've never done this on a computer before. I've usually, private chat. Right, so I should see the chat coming up in the private chat box, yeah? Right, I don't know if I've got any viewers or not, so as I say, if you pop something up in the comments, we'll go from there. Okie doke. Comments box, not private chat. Okay, right, the comments box. Brilliant, thank you. Right, private chat comments. Right, okie doke. Right, anyone like their first? Evening, Claire. Right, the signal is good this way. Hopefully the signal should be good here. We've actually invested in, I don't know if you've heard it, but Starlink. Who is it? It's one of that, I can't think what his name is. Something to do with electric cars. You know who I'm on about. It's him that owns it anyway. And we pay like 70 odd quid a month for it. And it's a dish on top of the roof here. So fingers crossed, as I say, we should get a good signal. So right. Okie dokie. Who's wanting a first reading? You love a reading, Krish. Okie dokie. Right, Krish. I'll give you a reading first if that's what you want. Right, I've got the cards out. I'd say he's only 60s, maybe 70s at a push. An elderly gentleman. Well, I was going to say his face looks older than what he is, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can describe him. But I would say he's late 60s, maybe early 70s. And he's telling me that he was a real worker in his day. He was hard working, and he was honest to a fault, if that makes sense. He'd rather disappoint someone with the truth than lift them up with a lie. That's where he was. It's just, that's the only way I can describe him. As I say, he was just honest to a fault. As I say, okay, yeah, that's my granddad. Okay, perfect. I see him. I do see him with like grey hair going white, if that makes sense. And he's also telling me he loved music. He loved nothing more than hearing the family happy with music on in the background, and people around the house. Does that make sense to you? Because he seems to be sort of a people person. That's the only way I can describe him. A people of other people being around. Being around him. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's good. Perfect. Yes, greater where came from, or what, as I say, what it was made of. Basically, he would try a bit of that and a bit of this and a bit of that. It wasn't just your plain food, if that makes sense. He liked a bit of everything, and he's laughing about it. that food was one of his things, if that makes sense. I even actually believe that he liked cooking. I'm getting a cooking way with him. As I say, if he didn't like cooking, he was just tasting stuff. He he's showing me a big white car. Now, this car to me looks like a limo for some reason. The stretch limos. And this is what he's showing me, but it's like the limo is full of people. I'll explain it to you what I'm seeing. The limo is full of people, and I believe it was going somewhere, maybe to like a family occasion. A wedding keeps coming into my head, but I'm actually not convinced it was a wedding. If that makes sense. I think it was. Did you have? Hang on. Let me. Did you have like a prom night recently or something? Or the children have a prom night? Because I'm seeing big, and the people I'm seeing getting in the car and getting out the car is actually dressed really nicely, like they're going somewhere. So I think he's showing me some sort of an occasion, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like taking the kids to a prom or going to a wedding or something, because everyone's dressed to the nines, dressed beautifully, basically. And he's laughing. He's laughing. He's talking about being a taxi driver, but I think he's just saying that in jest because he drove people about in his car, if that makes sense. Could be a wedding. Okay. It's like he drove the younger generation sort of, I don't know, or he wouldn't just drive them to. He drove them and picked them up to know that they were safe. That's the impression I get from him. As I say, I get an awful. Yeah, I just get like love and pride in my chest. That's the only way I can describe it. Yes, he drove people in his car. Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, right. Right. One of the young ones in your family has just bought a car or is going to buy their first car, is what he's talking about. Could you tell me if this is correct or not, Krish? I'm getting the message to say that someone has just bought their first car or they're going to buy their first car, and he wants them to take a mechanic with them. Someone's going to buy a new car, and I feel it's a first car, and he wants them to take a mechanic with them because there's the car that they're thinking of buying, there's something wrong with the engine. Does that make sense? I'm not getting you. Okay, if you could, as I say, let me know if someone is either buying a new car or has just bought a new car, because it seems to me like there's something. This could be true. I have a large family, always buying cars. Okay, well, there's someone about to buy a car, and I believe it's their first car. I don't know why I'm getting that, but it's like a first car, and it's like, or the first time they've bought a car on their own, if that makes sense. But he wants you to make sure that there's a mechanic there because there's something amiss with the engine, and it could be an expensive expensive car, if that makes sense. By the time you get it sorted, is what he's saying. And basically, I think that's his message. His message is, as I say, about the mechanic. So, what he's saying is, you buy cheap, you buy dear. So take a mechanic with you, or stay away from cheap cars, if that makes sense, is what he's saying. So with that, I'll leave you love with you, Krish, and thank you so much for taking it. Okie doke. Right. Let's have a look, go back up and see who else is asking for. Right. Megan Jones would love a reading. Right. We've got right. Hopefully it'll work this time. I'm on my iPad, so I won't be going back on my computer. Right, where were we? I was talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to. Right, let me see the comments. Chat, comments, and I will go back and see who I was talking to. Right, Megan Jones, yep, apologies. Right, Megan, right. I'm gonna have to tune back in again, 2 ticks. Right, okay, I'll get someone else through, unless the person comes back through again. Okay. Right, Megan, apologies for that. Right, I've got a definite lady come through this time for you. Okay, this lady was all about the fun side of life, all about sunshine and roses. She was a happy-go-lucky sort of lady. I believe she passed in her, whew, she was pretty young. I want to say 50s, maybe 60s. And it's either a friend or a sister link I'm getting. It's the same generation as yourself I'm getting. So as I say, it's sister, sister-in-law, friend, cousin, that sort of, as I say, the same generation as yourself, if that makes sense. She's telling me, as I say, she was happy-go-lucky. She was I wouldn't say the life and soul of the party, but she did like to socialise in that. I'm hoping this all makes sense to you, Megan. She was actually a really lovely, upbeat lady who liked to laugh and a joke, and who, as I say, she did like socialising. Don't get me wrong, she did have problems in life, but she was good at masking them, if that makes sense to you. She was good at coming across as if she had no problems, like she didn't have a care in the world, but underneath, obviously, she did. I'm getting, right, not a pain as such, but I'm getting flutters in the middle of my chest, which makes me think that this lady had heart issues. If she didn't have heart issues, she certainly had like lung issues all around that area, if that makes sense. She also suffered a lot of heartburn and a lot of like indigestion pain and everything else. And this, for a long time, is what she put down to her problems, if that makes sense. But it was more serious than that, and she didn't realise. Does that make sense to you, Megan, at all? Right, there is a little bit of a lag, as I say. Okay, Megan. I don't know if we've lost Megan or what, but I'll carry on with reading. But if you could let me know if you're still there, and sort of let me know, trying to think of who it could be. Oh, okay. Well, just say if it doesn't resonate, then, as I say, it may be for someone else. Someone else, if someone else can understand any of this, as I say, just say so as well. Because, as I say, it might be for someone else on here. Although I specifically asked, as I say, someone for you. Okay, right. As I say, this lady, all I can say is she's very, very positive, upbeat, enjoyed socialising, enjoyed the summer. I mean, she would sit out on her porch all evening in the summer. It sounds like you're speaking about me. Okay. Okay, but I'm actually speaking about someone who's passed, though, Maxine. That's the thing. So if you can resonate with someone who's passed, as I say, that fits that description, just say, and as I say, we'll go from there. But at the moment, as I say, this lady, she's shown me two children. Now, I don't know if she was one of two. She had two children. It could even be two grandchildren. She was, right, I've given you her the way she was, as I say, upbeat and everything else. She's also telling me, she's given me the co-op. Now, I'm believing it's the cooperative shop, you know, the co-op that she's given me. So I believe at one point in her life, she worked in a co-op. Or was that? Would it be a cooperative? No, I think I'm right with the shop, the co-op shop. I'm sure she was like a cashier in the co-op. If that resonates with you. Okay. She was yep, definitely. She's showing me serving and putting groceries into her bag. So yes, she was definitely a right. Okay. She's also, as I say, she's showing me two girls again, and as I say, I don't know if she was one of two sisters, if she had two daughters or maybe two granddaughters, but she's this. Okay, right. She's also given me a memory of the two girls going, it's either horse riding or donkey riding, and I think it's donkey riding on a beach. You remember years ago they used to have like the donkeys on the beach. Well, she's given me like the donkeys walking back and forward on the beach, and as I say, with these two young girls. So it's obviously a memory that she's given me. Okay, as I say, this would. I was going to say I think it's a holiday, but I actually don't think it is. I actually think she was sort of brought up on the beach or near a beach, and that was sort of like a daily thing, if that makes sense to you. Is this making any sense at all to you, Megan? The last one I got from you was, it said maybe. Right. For Jennifer to see your phone, please give StreamYard approval. That's fine. Okay. Right, Megan, is this ringing any bells with you? And if it's not, as I say, if it's ringing a bell with someone else, just say, not really, sorry. I didn't think it was somehow because you wasn't really answering. And okay, right. Okay. Okay. Right. Well, I've asked her to step back, and I'll try for someone else for you, Megan. But I'd love a reading if drawn. Right, just give me 2 ticks. I'll see if I can get someone else for Megan. Right. Okay. Right. That's my head cleared. Okay. Right, Megan. I have a father figure come through. Now that could be a father figure as in a stepfather, or it could be someone that you looked up to, even a grandfather. Okay, this gentleman lived to be, I want to say early 80s, to be perfectly honest with you. He's got that look about him that's, as I say, a well-worn face, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of wrinkles, a lot of smile lines around his eyes and whatnot. I'm getting like he's showing me himself as like a typical old man, and he wore an everyday suit, if that makes sense, and a cap on, but he's also got the cap off, so I'm taking that as occasionally he wore a cap. Maybe if he was out and about or whatever, he'd wear a cap on his head. He's showing me horses. Now, someone in the family, I believe, if it wasn't him that liked horses, is someone in the family that likes horses. And he's telling me he was a winter sort of person. He enjoyed he enjoyed sitting by the open fire. You know, when it was cold outside, he enjoyed the warmth around the fire and whatnot, just like family times around the fire. Does that make sense to you at all? Right, Megan. Like, this might be your granddad. Is there anything from your granddad? Are you understanding what I'm saying about? As I say, this gentleman used to like the open fire, and as I say, with the curtains drawn in the evenings, and just like the cold evenings outside where it was nice and warm in the house. Yeah, okay. As I say, he had really piercing eyes, but they were lovely eyes, if that makes sense. But they were very piercing, like the color of them was like a piercing blue, like a greeny blue, if that makes sense. He's telling me that he was a very sort of understanding soul. That's the way he's talking. He said, I was an understanding soul. Like, the only way I can explain it is I would say sort of northish accent, if that makes sense. Maybe not the accent, but just the words that he's saying, you know, like putting a soul at the end of it. He's also showing me like red brick house, like a red brick, you know. Describe it is, we don't have houses like that up like sort of North Scotland, but as you go further down south, if that makes sense, when you're driving, you start to see that, like the red brick houses with the white cement around it. Does that? Yeah, he was from Wales. Okay, so there was some sort of accent. As I say, and I'm seeing this red brick house. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's like, and it's got, you can see the white cement around the brick, and it's like really vivid in my head. And he's showing me a front garden and a back garden, and he enjoyed pottering about the garden. He wasn't much of a gardener, if that makes sense, but he enjoyed like pottering about. He would go out. He used to be a builder. That's why he showed me the red brick house. Okay, that makes sense. Perfect. Okay, right. So it's not the house that he lived in, but he was showing me that he was building houses. Right. Okay. That's brilliant. And as I say, he wasn't a gardener as such, but he potted about the garden, you know. And if he saw that he was doing something right, he used to go and have a few pints in the garden. Okay. As I say, he's showing me the garden, and he's showing me like there's a couple of I want to say rose bushes, but they don't look like rose bushes. But the word rose bushes is coming in my head. So and as I say, it's down one side of the garden there was bushes, and there was a bit of grass. He's actually showing me the garden that I can make out, as I say, and just outside the back door there was like a couple of seats and a little table and whatnot. So yeah, that's, as I say, he's describing his garden to me. He was actually a really hard worker, and he had worker's hands, but he had sore hands. That's the only way I can describe it, is sore hands. And what I mean by sore hands is they were dry. But you class that as worker's hands, but I just see his hands, and they were so dry. It's like you're going to put a bottle of moisturiser on his hands and it will just suck them in because it was so dry, if that makes sense. And he was always complaining about, as I say, like sore hands. He wasn't much of a complainer, but if he would complain, it would be about his sore hands, if that makes sense. He's also saying that he liked rice pudding. His wife or someone made a rice pudding with the skin on top, and he loved the skin on the top of the rice pudding. He also liked stew and dumplings. He's telling me that he liked big fluffy dumplings, and his wife was a brilliant cook. And he used to, it doesn't matter what she put down to him, he ate it anyway. He didn't complain, but she turned into the most fantastic cook. Excuse me, but he's laughing and saying she wasn't that to start with. She burnt a lot of things, and he had to eat some terrible meals when they were first married, and then they got to the stage where she was good at it, and when she was good at it, she was really good at it. Yeah, he loves his stew. Yeah, and he's talking about, as I say, I'm just seeing this big white fluffy dumpling on top of a plate of stew. So yeah, he liked his food. And as I say, someone, I'd say, in the family, he keeps showing me horses. Now, I don't know if he bet on the horses or someone in the family likes the horses. There's something definitely about horses. I just can't work out what he's saying about them, if that makes sense. Okay. Did he actually... Oh, I can't get my bottle done up. Did he actually speak Welsh? Because there's like he's speaking, and then there's like the odd I'll say foreign, because Welsh is foreign to me. The odd foreign word in it. Like, I don't understand the whole sentence because I don't understand that word. Does that make sense? So it's like he's saying something, and as I say, he'll end the word with like a foreign word. So me, I've got to decipher the whole sentence because of one word, if that makes sense. Which makes me think that he spoke fluent Welsh. He also had quite a strong accent, and he also had a really hearty laugh. And the hearty laugh is, what's that? I asked him where before he passed, and I asked him to speak Welsh, but only if you asked him. Okay. Well, as I say, he's the odd words coming out, as I say, and I've got to decipher the whole sentence because of it. But as I say, he's got a right, like, hearty laugh. But he was also, I keep putting my hand to my chest, which makes me think that he's trying to tell me that he was really chesty and wheezy towards the end. Now, I can actually taste, I wanted to say smell, but it's not, it's actually taste a cigarette. So makes me believe that he smoked, and as I say, it went to his chest in the end. Yeah, COPD. Yeah, I thought there was something with his chest, as I say, because I keep putting my hand to my chest. It's like, there is what I'm wanting to speak about, there, you know. So yeah, as I say, but he COPD, but he's saying he brought a lot of it on himself with smoking, with the, you know, so, and he wasn't going to give up the cigarettes because he enjoyed them. That is what he's saying. So yeah, he's a lovely gentleman. He's telling me that he did have a temper. He says not many people saw my temper. He says, but when I did have a temper, he exploded, if that makes sense. But you didn't get to see that very often, and he tried not to show it around his family, if that makes sense. But it took him a long time to get to the stage where he could hold his temper back, if that makes sense. But no, as I say, he seems a lovely man, definite hard worker, and that's what he's saying about you. He's saying that you're a hard worker in the fact that you find something that you're interested in and you go for it, if that makes sense. And there's something new that you're either starting or you're about to do, because he's telling you good luck with it. And he's saying, yeah, he's saying good luck. He was ever so lovely. Yeah, he's coming across as a lovely man, as I say. But as I say, you are going to do something, or you've just started something, and he's saying, as I say, he wants to wish you good luck with it, with whatever it is you're doing. Although I believe it's something to do with study. I'm seeing open books, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm seeing open books, so I believe it's something to do with study, and it's something new for you. And as I say, he is saying, that's what he's saying. He's saying good luck. He says he knows that he knows that it's in you to do well with it, whatever it is. So I will leave his love with you, and I will say thank you so much for. Oh, your sister's thinking about college. Well, she'll do well with it. Whatever it is, as I say, it's something to do with open books and whatnot. She'll do well with it. And as I say, I will leave his love with you, and thank you so much for taking him. Okie doke. Right, let's have a look and see who else is up here. I did pass and came back. Sounds like you were speaking about me. Okay. Where else? Right, Rebecca Donahoe, are you still there? Right, if you're there, Rebecca, I'll clear my head with my cards, and then right, if you could tell me if you're still there, Rebecca, please. Or who else is there? If you're not there, Rebecca, well, hang on, 2 ticks. What? There was a lady up here that's Sharon Duggan, or Dugan. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Apologies. Okay, I'll try and get through as much of you as I can. Sharon, are you still there? As I say, I'm not quite sure if pronounce. Yes, you are. Good. Okay, right. Right, let's have a look. Okay. Right. First thing that get in my head when. Right. The name Ruby. Does that make sense to you, Sharon? Someone called Ruby, or Ruby around you. If it's not a name, then it's a stone in a ring or something. As I say, all I'm getting is Ruby. Ruby. Even that song, Ruby, Ruby's playing in my head. I don't know if this makes any sort of sense to you at all, Sharon, but if you could let me know, please, and then we'll go from there. As I say, okay, I have Ruby around me, a dog, but I love the colour. Brilliant. Okay, right. Does a lady, and I don't want to, right, does a female, and I feel the need to say female and not a lady, in their 20s, maybe early 30s, but she acts or acted a hell of a lot younger, which makes me think that she might have had, and I'm only saying might have had, learning difficulties. Does that make sense to you, Sharon? I want to go for early 20s, but to start with, it was sort of 20s, early 30s, but for some reason I want to go to early 20s, unless she, I don't know, her her mind is a lot younger, if that makes sense. I have a cousin with learning difficulties. Is she here or is she past? Because I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure, excuse me, if this lady is popping this in my head, telling me about someone, or if this is the lady. No, she's telling me female. When I call her a lady, she's not having it. She wants me to call her a female. You believe that she's still here? Okay, right. Well, this female, it's like she's getting not annoyed with me, but it's like, no, I asked you to call me a female when I'm saying a lady. So, okay, I'm getting confused here. Right. Right. So, okay, I'm asking who this lady is, okay? Seems the readings on this page is just for a group of people. No, it's for everyone, Laura. Okay. Right, okay, right. This lady is female. Sorry, she's correcting me again. Right, the only way I can describe this female is she's very. This female hasn't been passed for long, and she is very pernickety, and she wants me to be correct. That's the only way I can describe her. She won't have being called, as I say, a lady. She is a female who is, I believe she passed in her 20s, and I also believe she passed quickly. She's telling me quickly in an accident. Does that make any sort of sense to you at all, Sharon? This lady, I'm in such a habit of saying a lady. This female passed in an accident, Sharon. Does that make any sense to you? And if it doesn't make any sense to you, does it make any sense to anyone else that's listening, please? Because this female is adamant that she wants me to, there's a message for someone. Sarah's reading someone. Oh, put the comments up between readings, and I will put other people's comments up. Okay. It doesn't currently, but I might find out later, unless it's for someone else. Okay, right. Well, I'll carry on with it, but hopefully, as I say, someone can take. If you can't take it, Sharon, someone else can, because she is very. The only way I can describe her is she's very with it. She's very up to date, and she's very with it, and that's what makes me think that she hasn't been gone that long, if that makes sense. And she was one of those females that would, obviously, she would correct you when you're wrong. She would stand up for what she believed in. She's saying that if you haven't got a backbone, you're spineless, and she's very, very strong believer in equality and whatnot. Does that make sense to anyone at all? She does. She seems very, very specific. Yep, very passionate as well. And as I say, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like, I am a female. I will be called a female. I am not a lady. I am this. I am that. And this. It's just the way. She said she's all right from when she was tiny, little. She was very passionate. She was very unique. She was an individual, and people. It took up until her late teens for people to accept the fact that she was like that, and this is the way she was going to be. If that makes sense. It doesn't sound like the cousin I was thinking of. No. But there was definite. I mean, when I said learning difficulties, I might have been sort of overstepping the mark there. But she she's definitely got like a younger way with her, if that makes sense, which made me think that maybe she had some sort of learning difficulties. And that's not to say that she hasn't, but she certainly knows her own mind. She certainly knows her own mind, and she's not the type to back down in an argument either. If she believes in something, she will fight for it, if that makes sense. She's an individual, definitely. She's just the type of female that she sees someone being bullied, or she sees something that's not right, she will step in. That she's that type, and I can actually. She would be the type, like she would fight for your rights, if that makes sense. And that's exactly what she's saying. She's agreeing with me when I said that. She said she would fight for anyone's rights, because everyone has the right to be themselves, and that's what she's saying. But no one can take her, and this is someone's bound to know her on here, as I say, because they don't come through normally unless, as I say, they've got a reason for coming through. And her reason, it's maybe just a collective. So I'll give the message, because it's maybe just, as I say, for a collective, for us all, basically. And she's telling us, or she's either telling one person or she's telling us all, to not just stand up for other people, but to stand up for ourselves and stand in your own power, if that makes sense, and make sure people accept you for who you are and not who they want you to be, if that makes sense. She says there's too many people out there want you to like shape you and I want to say curve, and that doesn't make sense, but like shape you into what they want you to be. And she's saying, no, at all costs resist that and be who you're going to be and stand in your own power. So I think maybe it's a message for us all, basically, rather than just maybe one person. As I say, she's very, very passionate, very, very. I could even, she's saying, yes, say it. I was about to say she could even be quite domineering, and she knew before I said it what she was going to say, because all I heard was, yes, say it. So as I say, she was quite domineering, but she believed in, when she believed in something, she followed it through, and that's the only way I can just describe the lady. She's given me the name Louise, but called Lou, I believe. I might be wrong, but okay. Right, well, I'll ask her to step back, and I'll look through. And see who else. Okay, right. Right. Anyone else getting a message? I'm trying to find someone who's asked for a message. Sharon. Right, Alison Short. If you're on, could you let me know, please? Anyone that says, if your name comes up Facebook user, I think FindMeAMedium Veronica has put up a link so that you can go and register with StreamYard, and your name will be shown then. Okay, where are we? New comments. Right, hang on. I did say her name, she's maybe gone. Alison Short, if you're there, could you say that you're there, please? If not, I'll Kirsty Cook. So Alison Short or Kirsty Cook at the moment. I'm just going up the top. I'm just trying to work my way down. Right, Alison Short, perfect. Okay, right, you're here. Okay. All right, I'll clear my mind from that lady. She was quite a very strong personality in that lady. Oh, that female. Okay, right. Okie dokie, Kirsty. Where was it, Kirsty? No, it was Alison. Apologies, Alison Short. Okay, right. Okay. Right, Alison, I have either a sister or a sister-in-law. Does that make sense to you? I've got she's as a sister or a sister-in-law, definitely. Okay, right. She was someone who was quite laid back, quite soft-hearted, and very. She was quite emotional. She was quite. Well, she could be emotional, put it like that. She wasn't emotional all the time, obviously, but she could be quite emotional, and she would take on a bit like an empath. She would take on other people's feelings, if that makes sense. She was the type of lady who she would get drained very easy, if that makes sense. And like she walked into a room or whatever, and there was, I don't know, bad energy in the room. She picked up that bad energy just like that. You know, she's telling me she was always able, as I say, to pick up other people's energies. She could tell you off the top of her head if she liked someone or not. She didn't have to get to know them. She just knew instantly whether she liked them or not, and that was her type. Does that make sense to you, Alison? She was I want to say spiritual. I want to say like spiritual to a degree, if that makes sense. Although, as I say, she wasn't spiritual in the fact that as I say, she could talk to spirit or whatever, but she certainly felt them around her. Does that make sense? No, that sounds more like you. Okay. Okay. Um, so why are you telling me about Alison then? Okay, do you have a sister or a sister in law in the spirit world? Or someone that you would sort of class, maybe a brother's ex girlfriend or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Um, as I say, if you don't have no, okay, right, okay. Why am I getting sister or sister-in-law? Okay, did you have right? I'll do it another way. Did you have a friend who was close enough that you could class that you not that you class as a sister, but close enough like sisters? Because sometimes you can pick your family, but you can't pick. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this lady was certainly close enough to you. I would say that's so it's maybe like an old friend or something. Okay, right. She's describing she is describing you, but she's also saying that she's given me the name B B. I don't know. It's Barbara, Bar, Babs, Barbara. Okay, it's Babs or Barbara or something to that. It's definitely beginning with B anyway. And she is describing you, and she's also saying that you are the type of person that will not just, as I say, pick up like other people's emotions and things like that. She's saying, but you do pick them up, but she's saying you don't deal with it like you should do. Like you can't walk away from a situation and not take the baggage with you, if that makes sense. The only way I can describe it, as I say, it's like when you walk into a room and you pick up the negative energy, you're not leaving the negative energy behind, you're taking it with you, and it's making you, it's not, I'm not saying it's making you ill, but it can make you um anxious isn't even the right word, but it takes a while to leave you, if that makes sense. So you're still empath rule, observe, don't absorb. Yeah, but this lady, I feel, is absorbing it all, and you don't know what to do with it, if that makes sense. And you're taking their problems, although it's not their problems as such, but you're taking the energy from their problems into your world, and it's, does that make sense? It's right. I've got a dog here just chewing her feet. Please stop. Yeah, she's just seems like you don't know how to shift it. You're taking it with you and you don't know how to shift it. And it's you that's going around in, like, I don't want to say a depressed state, but a down. You know, you're feeling down through no fault of your own. And this is what she's saying. This lady, I want to. Okay. She gave me the word sister or sister, and I picked it up as sister or sister-in-law, as I say, or it could be a friend. But actually, she's brought someone else in, and she's brought in an elderly lady. And I want to say, well, she's not that elderly actually. She's only in her 70s, 74, I think. She's telling me 74. So she's either 74. 74 means something to someone, or it could be the 7th of the 4th, which is 7th of April. So either something's happened in April, like wedding, anniversary, birth or whatever, or as I say, she could be 74. But this lady that she's brought in is saying that I believe she's your grandmother. And she's telling me that she was exactly the same, that used to absorb people's energies. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, you definitely have to learn to project our energetic field. But it's, as I say, Alison is like open to, as I say, all these energies. And as I say, your grandmother, if she's your grandmother, which I believe she is, she's saying she was exactly the same and she would absorb everyone's energies. And it was like someone asked her, she's explaining, if someone asked her, there was actually nothing wrong with her life. You know, the people would ask her what her problem was, if that makes sense, because she always seems to be like down, if that makes sense. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with her life, but she could never explain why she felt down. But she says now, being on the other side, she realizes that she was actually like empathetic. Empathic, that's the word. She was empathic and she was absorbing everyone else's energies, and now she realizes exactly the same, and she's saying the same is happening with you. So she says she doesn't want this for you. You have to, she wants you to, do you meditate? She's talking to me about meditation, and she's turning around and saying that if you learn to meditate and to clear your mind, clear your space, and take like, and then do like positivity, like mindset, if that makes sense, is what she's trying to say. She's saying because she says all this feelings is bogging you down as a person, and she doesn't want to see that, if that makes sense. And she's saying you're not coping with it. You're not coping with it. She's saying so you're picking up everyone else's problems and you're not taking it out on people. She's saying, but you're suffering because of it. So she says you have to find a way to unload it, get rid of it, and just till it's gone, if that makes sense. As I say, I know exactly what she's trying to say, and I'm hoping I'm getting it across to you that, as I say, you need to be able to unload. And she's saying meditation will help clear that mind, clear that space, and get rid of that rubbish, if that makes sense. It will get rid of that extra baggage that you're carrying, because she says that's what it is. It's extra baggage that you're carrying, and she doesn't want to see that. So with that, I will leave her love with you, Alison, and don't let it drag you down. As I say, try and find a way to unburden yourself, if that makes sense. And she's saying to put yourself into a bubble as well. She says if you're in an atmosphere that's negative, and you feel that you're taking anything on, put yourself into a bubble and let the energies bounce off the bubble. Don't let them into you, if that makes sense. And I will leave her love with you. Okie doke. Right, let's have a look and see. I will. Right. Right, let's have a look and see. love how you stick with it until you get the message across. Oh, thank you, Maxine. It's quite, sometimes I think I'm picking it up wrong, and then I hear a voice saying, no, you're not, but you just got to try and get it across, if that makes sense. So, right. Lucia Devaney McGonigal. Okay, right. Right, I don't read the cards, I just sort of clear my head with them, if that makes sense. Right, clear enough now to bring someone through, surely. Right. Okay, Lucia, I think I'm pronouncing your name right, Lucia. Give me a minute. Right, I have got a gentleman here, and this gentleman, hang on, 2 ticks, I'll stop this. This gentleman worked with his hands. It's okay, I was just picking my dog up, just chewing a paws. Right, this gentleman worked with his hands, and he worked with the land, and he had what they call green fingers. Anything he touched turned to gold, if that makes sense, especially where plants and things like that were concerned. He was I want to say granddaughter or granddad's brother, because he's definitely above me a couple of times, you know, so I'm getting like the granddad or the granddad's brother, that sort of way. And as I say, he grew tomatoes, he grew potatoes, he grew, telling me, onions and peas in the pod. He's got memories, or maybe you've got memories of getting the peas, you know, taking the peas out of the pods. That's what I want to do, if that makes sense. He's given me the name, a J name. Now, I don't usually get an initial, so I want to say John or Johnny, or even Jonathan, but made shorter to John. Okay, right. Yeah, I want to say that name. That was sort of him or around him, if that makes sense. I also want to get the name, I want to give the name David, as I say, for him or around him. He's also showing me a market, you know, like a fruit and veg market, if that makes sense. So James, okay, never knew your grandfather. James was my, okay, so that's where the J name comes in. Okay, right. Well, I picked it up wrong by saying Johnny or whatever, so apologies. So I should have went to start with the J, shouldn't I, instead of trying to put a name to it. Okay, that's fine. Right. He's also given me, as I say, like a fruit and veg market, or a fruit and veg. Do you remember years ago you used to go to the fruit and veg shop, and the fruit and veg used to be sitting outside the shop? That's what he's trying to impress on me, if that makes sense. And I don't know if he had a fruit and veg stall, or he used to take his fruit and veg to that little shop and they used to sell it for him, or what, because it's like he definitely grew the fruit and veg, and as I say, it was like he had green fingers. Anything he touched, when it came to like plants and things like that, they grew, and he was just so good at what he'd done, if that makes sense. So yeah, he's also right. He's also given me a car and a trailer. Now, you know, like a trailer, like just a wooden trailer thing at the back of the car, like a carty. He's given me that, which makes me think that would he use that to take the fruit and veg to the market. I just get that the car, the cart, and the fruit and veg was a big part of his life. Does that make sense? It was a big part of his life, but he loved it. He loved what he was doing. He knew what he was doing, and it was a big part of, that's the only way I can describe it. It was just a big part of his life. He's also showing me in a kitchen, someone's cooking with what he grew, and there's a big wooden table. I'll tell you exactly what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a big wooden table with excuse me, lots of seats around it, and my voice is going, which makes me think that there was his throat was his throat wasn't great in the end, which, as I say, which makes me think that my voice is definitely going. So there was something wrong with your grandfather's throat at the end. But he's given me a big wooden table with lots of chairs around it, and this table is piled with food. It's like the food was really important. It was an important part of the day to sit around this table, to sit around and just everyone talking. And even after dinner was served and finished, he still carried on sitting around this table and talking. And he's saying it's like it still should be, but it's not, if that makes sense. You know, that was, everyone used to pass the time of day and tell everyone how their day went and how the kids got on at school, and he's saying that was such a big part of his life, and he's saying that's what's missing in today's society, basically. I get the impression that he's been gone quite a wee while, excuse me, and times has certainly moved on since he's saying that he doesn't know if he'd actually like to be here today, if that makes sense. It's like I'm glad I lived when I did, because I don't think I'd get on today in today's society, if that makes sense. Is what he's saying. He's also saying, right, okay, right. Did he used to do the pools, the football pools? Because he's showing me the piece of paper that he used to get with the football pools, and I actually believe he won on the football pools. That's what I'm getting. He actually won on the football pools. Not a huge amount of money, but he won on the football. He's showing me a football pools that he used to get, and he's given me pound signs. So yes, he won on the pools. And it's something he used to do religiously, and he used to let the kids pick where the ball was as well. And as I say, that was his weekly pools, and he's talking about the pool man coming to the door. They used to come. They used to come, as I say, and get them the money for. Okay, right. He's just basically saying how life's changed since he's passed. And he's saying how proud he is of the way you cope. There's something in your life that you're coping with, and he's watching you, and he's saying that he's with you. That he's saying that he's so proud of the way that you're coping with something in your life at the moment, something that's quite hard, something that you're overcoming. And he's saying he likes to be there to give you strength. He said, because you need strength sometimes, you need extra strength sometimes, and he's there for you. So basically that's what he's saying, and he's saying that he loves and he misses you, but he wants to just tell you know how proud he is of you. So yeah, I will leave his love with you, Lucia, and thank you so much for taking him. A lovely man. And I'll leave his love with you. Okie dokie. Perfect. Thank you. Right, that's 9:05. I was only supposed to be until 9 o'clock, so I will say thank you all for supporting me on here. And I do have a page myself. It's Sarah Mcgeachy Medium. If you're interested in going over and giving me a wee follow. And thank you so much. And I will say goodbye. Thank you. Bye bye.